Hello! Time for my playtest stream. I want to give a little moment for time for people to kind of show up. So I'm not going to necessarily launch into explanations right away. There's a lot that I did in terms of underlying structural stuff that I changed. But I do know that I have some people who like to drop in regularly. I'll probably need to repeat myself a couple of times. Let's just go ahead and start with a little bit of a preamble. So, in response to the previous playtest, that showed several things. One of them was that I could try experimenting around a little bit with different looks for the Bestiary page, which I have done. We'll show that later in Engine. But another really important thing that I kind of ran into, especially towards the end that I was working on, just kind of looking down to keep an eye on where chat shows up for me, is that hey, there you are. Okay. So yeah, just to kind of give a little bit of overview, now that I see that you're here. So I did tweak the Bestiary pages. I think I already showed that on my Discord, so you kind of saw some of that process. If you want to see some of the other models, you can always check them out on the Astral Collision channel on my Discord for some of the things I experimented around with. I'll actually be going into a lot of detail on updates and changes that I made to both that and the experiments that I ran there, as well as the underlying like code and philosophy and all sorts of stuff that I changed over the past, I don't know, week since the previous playtest. I recorded like an hour and 10-minute video going over all of that yesterday. That'll be going up on the 26th of April. So that's going to have a lot of like the in-depth details. I don't want to repeat that here for obvious reasons of I don't want to spend another hour and 10 minutes going over all that stuff. There's something that I realized just a moment ago that I forgot to talk about there, which is that I changed some of my conditions a little bit. Specifically, I replaced Confusion with Dazed, which now prevents you from using the standard guard action. It makes guarding way weaker, and it makes MP cost greater. And then I changed Paralyzed to, instead of making MP cost more expensive, it now prevents you from using special skills. And Silence now only prevents magic. So I didn't like the fact that there's some overlap there. So I kind of, or with Silence, just like disabling all special skills, or all skills, both magic and special. I felt like that was a little bit much. And I didn't feel like I needed Confusion. Fascination and Rage are pretty similar. And I didn't feel like I needed an additional just attack anyone. I might make another state that does that at some point, but I didn't need it here. But we're here for the big changes. The big changes are a lot of math. So just to kind of go over stuff, let's actually get things started here. With the yes, I know I opened the database, so I have to change stuff. So after the last playtest, one of the things that I discovered was that it was really hard to balance the game. And there are a number of reasons for that. Let's grab you. I don't know, I'm just kind of grabbing. So let's see. Actually, I want Talmand. This is vaguely relevant. And I don't know, you maybe. So one of the big causes, let's just get out into the world. Let's make sure I'm over here. I discovered during a quick test that like if you're standing over here, I don't actually have the code to gather your party when you're talking from over here. Or like if you talk in front and you walked in from over here, your party can block this character from moving out of the way there, like that, and lock you in, which is not good. Okay, so let's start with the obvious. Everybody has 100 HP and 60 MP. This is a huge change from how things have been done previously. So just to kind of cover a couple of things that I've done, not going too much in detail. So I changed maximum MPs to be a lot flatter. Everything's like base 60, and then there'll be some equipment that'll be able to adjust it a little bit, but overall I don't want to go too high. One of the things Oh, I can just have it. You always do a gather allies when you interact. To just make it so that way your allies can't be in the way. Like I have code, or I have script, whatever you want to call the event stuff, to move you over in front if you talk from the side, but it needs to gather allies. So that way they all walk up to where you onto your tile. That would fix the problem. But anyway, so there was a couple of things that was making balance difficult. One was the ever escalating MP pool. Like, I want a lot of the balance to be. How do I describe this? I want the everything to kind of be a boat that the tide of your level lifts. I guess is kind of the best kind of metaphor for it. So, like, your stats will level up over time, and I want that to make things more powerful, not just because you got a skill that is, like, strictly speaking, more powerful than the previous skill that came before. I don't want, like, a Faraga sort of situation. I don't know enough about Final Fantasy to know how comparable those are to each other. But, so because of that, stuff getting more expensive is not necessarily, like, I'd effectively have to increase the proportional cost of everything as you level, which is kind of lame. So I decided that MP is going to be a lot more restricted, a lot flatter. The other thing that was a problem is MP regen was off the hook. Some characters just basically had infinite MP because of how high their MP regen got, because it scaled with your water stat. Like if we go to character here. Okay, well, this character doesn't have a water stat because he's lame. But like Lady Isabella right here, she has 14 water. And it used to scale with your water stat, so a higher water stat would give you more MP regen. And that would make it so that way your you wouldn't run out, particularly with the cheaper spells. Yeah, spell accuracy is new. I'll go into that in a moment as well. So that's one of the big changes is I made MP kind of flat, so that way the cost of spells could all work within that framework. The other thing that I did is I made it so that way MP regens are all kind of flat. You have a default 3 MP that you regenerate per turn. It's no longer percentage based. It is now just a flat value. And getting higher than 3, you're like, there's equipment that will. So like the tunic, for example, has +2 MP regen on it. Plate mail has 0 additional MP regen. Your maximum TP is now based upon your MP regen. So if you have more MP regen, you have less maximum TP. Is how that works. Now, another thing that Tobiyashi here was noting was spell accuracy. I changed a lot of the underlying damage formula to be more consistent. So the previous way that I'd done things, just to kind of give a quick overview, is I had like several layers of randomness. There was a random roll. In fact, it's a little redundant with the thing that I'd been talking about, or talk about in the other video, but it's really kind of important, so I need to go over it. Let's just, you know what? Astral Collision, come down here in our layer order. So, if we go, where is it in the code? Big blob of green. Yeah, right here. So this is the historical functionality for how I was handling calculating like hits and stuff. So you can see that yeah, now this is screwed with word wrap. Right here we would have a hit multiplier that gets a random value between 0 and 1. Then it scales with your hit. So this is basically what did accuracy before. This might look a little weird, but basically what happens is if you have, like the comments kind of describe it, but if you have less than 100% accuracy, it would make it so that way this random 0 to 1 scales somewhere between your accuracy and 100%. If you had more than 100%, it scales somewhere between 100% and your accuracy. So it's kind of between 100% and your accuracy either way. It's just depending upon which side of the 100% you conceptually think of it as being. And then if that resulting accuracy roll was less than 1.1, which is 10%, it would be a miss. And this is the old functionality here. A Otherwise, we would check evasion, and so we'd subtract a 0 to 1 multiplier against the evasion rating that the target has, and that would subtract off. If that gets us below 10% now, then it's evaded. Otherwise, we kind of keep going on, and it would be multiplied by the damage value that we generate. So that was how it worked. Now, the other thing is all weapons have a... So, like, let's actually go back to the game. Drop that down. If I go over here and pick up... Here's the weapons. Like, you get a dagger. So, like, see this says 21 to 35? That right there, all weapons roll some random value in that range. So that was another layer of randomness. So you'd have the layer of the accuracy check, the evasion check, and then the resulting multiplier on the damage that would result from your weapon swing. So there's like a lot of layers of randomness that was going on there to modify those. Like, you get some value in between here that's being modified by that accuracy roll. I'm trying to explain it a couple of different ways because it's a little bit of a complicated flow, and I don't have a flow chart to explain it, which actually would probably help. But so there was, and then there's the critical hit roll on top of that, which influences all of that stuff. So let's bring the code back up. So that's what was happening. Now, as you noted, spell accuracy is a new thing. I'll explain that in a moment, but what we have now, and there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to get into all the details in. Again, there'll be a video coming out on the 26th of April that goes into a lot more, like all of the nitty-gritty details and some of the thinking and all that behind that, although I'm happy to answer questions. So what's happening now is right here we grab the hit rate and the evasion rate, and then we have this accuracy variable that we're going to be doing stuff with. So accuracy checks the hit rate plus the evasion rate times a random value minus the evasion rate. So what this is doing is this is taking a range that goes from negative the evasion rate on one side. Actually, maybe this hand should be... Oops, sorry. Trying to figure out where to position my hands on camera. Negative evasion rate on the one side, and then your accuracy maximum on the other. And it rolls some value in between those. So that's just kind of a broader range that it kind of goes between. Hopefully that makes sense. But just kind of think of it as a broad interval that it randomly picks a value in. And then if the resulting roll here is less than 0, it's a miss. Note, not equal to 0, less than 0. That will be important. If your accuracy is less than 0, then it's a miss. Otherwise, it's evaded. This means most of the time, these sorts of rolls are going to be evaded because having an accuracy down there is pretty uncommon. Okay, so then we come in here, and if this is another important aspect to it, that determines whether or not things are going to hit. Spell accuracy is rebranded from something else. So if this damage, or if this thing can be a critical hit, then the critical hit is the accuracy minus 1 greater than the target's critical evasion. So what this basically says is if you get an accuracy roll, right, this roll, of more than 100%, then it can be a critical hit. That's how critical hits are now determined. It's no longer using the critical rate stat that had previously existed. That critical rate stat is now an additional spell accuracy stat that is going to be used for magical accuracy rolls. And, like, theoretically, spells can work off of it. It's up to the spell to determine. So this accuracy minus 1 basically means that, you know, anything above 100% is going to be checked against the target's critical evasion. I could just as easily have this be a +1 on this side. But critical evasion now raises the threshold you have to cross in order to get a critical hit. So, and then what happens is the accuracy is passed into the make damage value. There's no longer a hit multiplier being done here. And this right here is fed into the calc weapon damage function and is used to interpolate between the damage low and the damage high. So what I've effectively done is I've taken all of those random rolls I was talking about before and made it one random roll. that like checks whether or not things hit or miss, and then and on top of that, whether or not they're a critical hit, and how much damage they should deal in terms of determining the weapon damage range. So if you roll low accuracy, a low accuracy roll on that, like a 0, whatever, it's going to go more towards the low damage end. If you roll high, it's going to go towards the high damage end. Now, this can't do more damage if you get above 100% accuracy. That just translates into ability to critical hit, which will do more damage from critical hit multipliers and all that sort of stuff typically. But that's how that works. So this system is more deterministic now. It's got less randomness in it. And that's something that I wanted to do as a change to make stuff more consistent, because one of the other things that was a big problem is that I had a very poor framework for balancing enemies and understanding how strong enemies are. I'll get to that in a moment. There is something else that I want to touch on that I've done. There's some stuff that I've modified with like speed. You can see the MP regen is now 100 times this instead of your maximum. That makes that flat. This is the formula for... I'm not going to go over all this stuff here because like the video will explain it, and I don't want to spend too much time here. A couple of things right here. This is kind of important. There's now a uses weapon tag that I can put on stuff, on skills specifically, that make it so that way it will calculate the weapon damage against the element rate, but any damage that you put into the formula... So to kind of explain, I'd have to go... Basically, the little formula spot inside RPG Maker where you put the formula for how much damage it's supposed to do, that will get added on after the element rate calculation. So that allows attack skills to have a effectively an armor penetrating quality where they ignore armor on the additional damage that they deal, if you so desire, to set things up that way. So that's something that I did that's going to be relevant, that I'm going to want to like test out how that affects things. That can potentially help punch through things like oozes that have really good resistance to things or whatever. And the final thing that I'm going to touch on here in the code is variance used to increase critical rate, and now it increases accuracy, which indirectly increases critical rate. Your dexterity also boosts your accuracy on physical attacks. Your fire stat boosts your accuracy on magical attacks. And your critical rate is factored into your accuracy with spells, just like your hit rate is. So this is now spell accuracy. So that's what spell accuracy is. And I'm planning on like things like staves giving you additional spell accuracy. Critical evasion is still a thing. Regular evasion is also buffed by dexterity. Magical evasion is buffed by water. These are very minor until you get late game. That's the point where they start mattering. So let's get back. Oh yeah, and I no longer use this function here because that's not how critical hits are determined. So let's get back to what's going on with HP and balancing enemies and stuff. So the big thing, or one of the big things that I realized is that I had a very poor framework for figuring out how strong enemies should be. So what I ended up doing is I ended up rejiggering all of the stats. Let's actually... This is going to be easier to show. Whoop. I cleared out all of my old save files by moving them into a different folder, by the way, because there's a lot of stuff in there that's not going to make sense anymore. So let's go ahead and close this for the moment. It's going to be easier if I go over here to kind of explain things. So if I go to these classes now, you're going to see all of these like curves going on where stuff is curving up. Now, the values that I'm producing from this are way higher. Yeah, so skill costs are being heavily modified to actually account for those values. So it's things like, so one of the problems that I had was with enemy power level that was really difficult to determine things, is that enemies, so there's two ways kind of like ultimately your party dies or is like defeated when all of your characters die, right? So the there's basically two routes of applying damage. One is pressure, where you just keep depriving resources over time. So that's kind of like a sustained thing. It's kind of a battle of attrition. The other is spike, where you have just a single really high damage moment that can just take out a character. And enough spike can like also just churn right through the party. I was running into a problem where player durability was too good, which made me realize I was relying on spike damage in order to make enemies threatening. So if we look at some of the enemies that I'd done in the I can move this, but you won't be able to see that. In some of the areas over here, in this forest, whoops, this does not work normal. In this forest area right here, like I had some enemies there that were really aggressive. They used the cursed condition to make it so that way your healing was no longer effective, and they kind of spammed that out. And then they had skills that were like meant to like one shot you and stuff. That was something that I needed to do because certain player characters could effectively have infinite mana by having the cost of skills lower than their MP regeneration rate, which meant that they just could keep going indefinitely. And having them being able to keep going indefinitely was not something that I wanted. I will probably continue to tweak stuff. By the way, I should mention, at the end of battle, you do recover half of your maximum MP's worth of MP and HP based on your Earth stat. So there's a little bit of recovery after battle that is happening now, just to make it so that way, it's a little bit less tedious in that regard. But yeah, so the base 3 MP regen is like the standard value that you get, and then equipment can raise that up a little bit, to like up to 6 if you're wearing a robe. That change was made specifically so that way I could balance some of the attrition aspects, because that was something that I couldn't do effectively before, because MP regen invalidated anything that wasn't lethal damage, effectively, is kind of what it means, because the players effectively had infinite HP. You just had to like one-shot them. And that allowed them to be able to survive against enemies that they shouldn't have been able to. The 100 HP thing is new. Before, HP values were much higher. What I wanted to do was have a thing where enemies that were of a theoretically increased, or like 5 levels above the player, and I go into this in more detail, including the methods of like derivation and stuff, on the video that'll be coming out. I know there's going to be a lot of see the video in a week and a half or whatever, but so I wanted the player characters to like, basically I'm balancing things around. Standard attacks should on average 3-shot the players if that's all that's being presented. Now, damage reduction from armor and stuff like that will modify that range. Spells might do more or less, skills might do more or less, things like that. But that's kind of like a rough baseline that I'm balancing things around. So everything's kind of balanced around this HP curve. My original intention was that same level, it's a 3-shot on average. And then, excuse me, if we go above that, I should drink some water here. If you got to 5 levels, that helps. If you got to 5 levels above the player's party, then the enemy should start like being able to one-shot you on just standard attacks. That's kind of what I wanted in order to make like enemies that are supposed to be hard enough, or like threatening enough. Because again, game over is not a huge deal in this game. After a journey of math, I realized that was an exponential equation that looked like base HP times 3 to the level minus 1 over 5. So I'll just type that in chat. So this is going to be a little weirdly synced, but base HP times 3 to the level minus 1 over 5. That's the exponential equation, once everything catches up, that I get as a result. And the issue with that equation is it grows very quickly. So at level, if base HP was 100, which is what I've kind of settled on, because why not? It's a fine value. So if base HP is 100, then at level 99, the HP value that you would have is over 200 billion, which was too much. So I ended up modifying that denominator in the exponential from a 5 to a 24, and that got me to a maximum HP value of 8,877. Now, if we pull this back up, the reason why these curves look like they do is because this thing literally cannot show the values above 999. That's just where it caps out on these normal stats down here in this editor. I changed them by just changing the JSON files that all these values are saved into. I made a program to calculate everything out and handle stuff there. But basically what I'm doing now is everything's kind of balanced around this HP value. And so like the stats are based on that. The enemy damage and everything is going to be kind of balanced around that and all that sort of stuff. So I spent a bunch of time rejiggering the program that I use to generate information about enemies to work within this new paradigm. And I think it's going to be a lot better. It's going to allow me to have a better understanding of what balance looks like and all that sort of stuff. I'm still in the process of changing stuff. A bunch of player weapons need to be modified to kind of fit into this new framework. For example, according to my math, actually, if we bring up notes. So, like right here, level 1, you can see these should all be 12. I'm not sure. The way that this is set up is producing slightly different results. But HP is actually 100 at this level. Right here, this is maximum HP. This is 100. Here you can see the formula that I'm using for HP now up here. So if I go to level 99, you can see that I now have 8,877 HP. If this was based off of the 5, the value right here is absolutely enormous. Everything starts breaking. But you can see if I click on it, 224,686,299,952. That's way too big to be reasonable. So we're using 24 because that gives us reasonable values. But you can see like at this spec, like that's an average of 1,110 in every stat, because that's how the math works out. And that makes some of these weapons are fine. You can see the average damage that they should deal is 3,698. None of these weapons actually hit that, although the scythe is really close. It's really close. The scythe is kind of in, in reasonable territory. So that one might not need to be changed. But you can see like the sword's formula or the axe's formula, they both just break and give you absolutely ludicrous damage values. I don't even know what this is. It's just way too big. So I'm going to have to like completely reconfigure the formula for sword, for example, in order to give me a value that's not monstrous at max level. Because it was calibrated around your stats capping out at about 200, not 5 times that. And it's got a lot of stuff going on there that makes it do crazy stuff. So a lot of these weapons are going to need to be rejiggered in their formula. But that's kind of what's going on with some of that. So by balancing stuff around the sort of HP value, it gives me a point of like reference and should hopefully allow me to make it so that way enemies are more of an appropriate challenge level for what they should be. Hopefully that's something that's going to require testing over time as I like get my values into place and all of that. But anyway, that's a work in progress. That is a work in progress. So if I go ahead and launch this, yes, we can save changes to the game. Launch this again. So one of the things that I'm wanting to do is just kind of like test some stuff, see how things play. I've not been able to modify all the enemies because I got the program working kind of later in the day yesterday to where it needs to be. But I've done most of the early enemies. I'm a little talked out at the moment. Not all of the equipment is properly updated. Equipment should generally not be giving you bonus health at this time, but most of the equipment I have not modified yet. Are there any questions? Because I'm kind of like uncertain of where next to go, so I'm just going to play it a little bit here. Mage's training, probably want to give that to Talmand. You get this. So like, for example, she'll get Healing Spring because she's wearing plate mail, she only has 3 MP regen, so she can't spam as much as she would have previously. That's kind of the idea here with some of this. Let's see, do I have anybody that I want to give medics training to? Can you? I mean, sure, that's fine for now. Ah, Forgotten Spirit. So like this right here, the additional 21 damage will ignore whatever status modifiers that has. That skill probably deals too much damage. His Enervating Bolt's really strong. It probably also is going to be getting modified a bit. I don't know. He has no stones, or he has no earth stat. You can just attack here. Also, these guys can hit really hard with Stone Volley. Heal thyself. Okay, that's down to 32%. You have a reasonable win stat. I don't have a reason to think that I'm going to need it just yet. Ow. Well then. Maybe I do need to use it, eh? Hey! Yeah, some of the stuff definitely is going to need some balancing. That's for sure. Not everything is properly balanced. That Stone Volley hurts a lot. I probably need to tweak that enemy's Earth stat down a bit. Or Stone Volley might need to be changed otherwise. I don't know yet. I haven't gotten a character that's using it super well, so... Yeah, I know. If I found a whole team of them, that'd be particularly bad. But that's part of it, is like, I've changed fundamental systems so much. And like, here's the thing, too. Yeah. So like Healing Spring costs 8 MP. That's going to be a lot harder for her to be able to regenerate than it might have previously. So I've tweaked a lot of values of skills to kind of go in line with the maximum MP modifications I made. Okay. Yeah, that was resisted. I can tell. Oh man, that Stone Volley is rough. This Flame Swath is probably going to kill everything. Yeah. Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Okay, so you notice one of the characters was dead. And now Lady Isabella is decidedly not dead. The code that I have that grants people HP at the end of battle equal to the Earth stat revived her. That's interesting. I did not know that it would do that, or I hadn't thought about it potentially doing that. It makes sense in retrospect that it would. Yeah, well, losing death removes the death state, right? So Notes. What is today? Today is the 17th. 4/17/2020. HP regained at the end of battle revives fallen allies. Do I want this? I'm not necessarily against that happening. I hadn't considered it happening, but I'm not necessarily against it happening. So the question is, should you have to spend resurrection signets to resurrect outside of battle? I don't know the answer to that question. Let's just grab that. Yeah, okay. I already looted down there. I usually don't go that side path. There's not really a reason to. Yeah, I could give you this. But I could also give you the spell sword training up here. And I think that's just better for you because you have flame swath for AoE anyway. So in your game, you fully recover after battle. Only in battle would I use a revival skill. Yeah, like, it's one of those things that I hadn't thought about that happening when I implemented it. But in retrospect, I realized that now, of course, it would happen. I'm not against it, I don't think. I kind of like the idea of the player character, because you have a very limited amount of revival stuff anyway. There's some player skills that you'll get on level up that can do it, and otherwise it's the resurrection signet, right? That can do it. And I'm okay with only needing to spend those actually in battle. So I think I might leave that functionality there. I think I like it. I don't know. I'll have to play with it more to see if it like becomes a problem, but I can just flame swath. That'll take care of most things. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. It was resisted a bit. And that was resisted. Yeah, but flame swath just deals so much damage. Down here, spell sword training, frostbite and thunderstrike are just really useful. Oops, cannot walk sideways off stairs into the water. That is a feature. You shouldn't be able to. Let's just fireball this thing. Hey, fireball works. Yeah, so the revival item, resurrection signets give you 100% HP and MP. So yeah, this revives you pretty well. Yep. Scouts training. I'm not gonna give it to any of these characters right now. Let's see, what's over in this room? I think it's just cloth, but... Also, the amount of TP you get at the start of battle is consistent now. It's always... If you have Preserve TP, it's that plus like half your win stat. Otherwise, it's 10 plus half your win stat. Something like that. Because I was tired of it being a random value. Talman has a really high win stat, so he actually gets a lot of TP. He also probably has a bit of a lower max than like Calissa or Lady Isabella, just because they're wearing armor that decreases their yeah, maximum MP can increase with certain offhands or a certain piece of equipment is the idea, but it's probably not going to get above like 150. Sounds like it'd be a really high level. I don't expect maximum MP to increase a ton. But I do have plans for some equipment to be able to raise maximum MP. but it's not. It doesn't change by level because, again, like the balance of the game is such that like equipment and skills and stuff are all supposed to be like sitting on the surface of your stats. So as your stats go up, they go up with it. Like their effectiveness just kind of like stays constant. In terms of like Healing Spring doesn't randomly like start dropping off as you get to late game or things like that. So I needed MP to be able to be more constant, so that way I could balance costs around it. So it's more like what skills do you want to give yourself access to? What's going to be more effective with how your character actually works stat wise and things like that. So for example, Lady Isabella has a poor fire stat, as I recall, which means that light-based healing magic is going to be bad with her. Because it's partially based on fire. It's fire and water. So she wouldn't necessarily want to use the healer's skills that I can get here, but Healing Spring works fine. Stuff that bases healing in life magic might be better for her as well than other options. Because she has like reasonable wind and earth stats. So, but like, yeah, so maximum MP just kind of gives you more of a pool as well, and I just want you to be, I want to make sure that you're not too far from like low, if that makes sense, on more expensive stuff. And it just allows me to kind of calibrate cost more. Like, Runaway maximum MP was a little bit of a problem with the previous system, but the bigger problem was Runaway MP regen. But with a high enough maximum MP, they kind of approach the same thing. In other words, I don't want costs to become insignificant. Yeah, okay, those are all healing skills. Took out that bat. I also recalibrated a bunch of like experience gain and stuff. I'm not sure where the values are now is good or not though. You're playing with smalls of 6 at start, then maximum from level would be 12 to 16. But that's just an example. Some skills will be free 1 to 2, and others will cost like 1, 2, 3. Can't use items to regen MP. There may be skills for that, but rare. Yeah, like I'm probably not going to have MP regenerating items. I definitely have skills. The reason why I chose 60 as a maximum is just because 60 is extremely divisible. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 all as factors. And then it's what? 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, and 60, I think. So it's just highly divisible, which is why I chose it over anything else. 24 would have also been somewhat reasonable, but it doesn't have that 5, which is nice. Just because that gives me, like... those numbers are useful because they give me some understanding of, like, percentage rates, or, like, fractional rates. Yeah, that's why I chose 60. So, if something is 5 MP, it costs a 12th of your maximum. And like if you have 5 MP regen and you're at 0, it will take you 12 turns to refill completely and stuff like that. So it's just because it makes some of that math more even, it's particularly on the small numbers. It's that's why I chose 60. I can see where it would seem kind of random if you didn't know what my thinking was there. Sure, whatever. Yeah, no, she doesn't have enough wind to just randomly start there. Actually, let's just have you electrocute this spider. Take that, spider. I don't know if Enervating Bolt deals too much damage or not enough. I did recalibrate a bunch of experience rates as well. I'm not sure if they're where they are relative to where they need to be. We're definitely going to not want to go to some of the later areas, though, because those enemies have not been calibrated down properly. Let's just have you attack one of these, and have you attack the other one, and then have you gust. And then just a free attack. Ooh, it evaded. They do have a chance to do that. I've also not, like, properly modified most of the equipment or anything. So there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be tweaked. But a lot of the equipment is theoretically becoming worse. Hello, Clean Star. Good to see you. How are you doing today? I'm playtesting my RPG Astral Collision. So far, things are going about as expected. Which is... Oh, good. Level 2. I usually want to be level 2 by the time I leave here. I'm doing pretty well. Got a lot of additional stuff I'm going to want to do in this after the playtest as well, because this is a long process of, like, recalibrating a bunch of numbers. Let's see. Okay, this encounter again. I think I just want to fireball it. RPG Maker is... So, as a tool, RPG Maker... The more you know how to code and do stuff, the more frustrating the interface becomes. Because you can't modify it, so then you're just writing some weird markup language. But, you know, it's got its advantages. It's very approachable overall, which is nice. Oh, those resist fireball. Should have lightninged the spider then. One of the nice things about RPG Maker is it comes with a lot of assets you get to use, which really simplifies making a game. Okay, bat, you're gonna get it from these guys, and then spider. I watched some, so I heard about it, I got it from somewhere. I watched some random guy, some random dude, I forget, something like that. It has some good tutorials on it. I've been recording like summary videos and stuff of my whole process of working and stuff. As I've been making this. As far as I'm aware, Toby, the interface of the editor is hard-coded. I have vaguely thought about just writing my own friggin' editor, but that would be a lot of work, sort of backtracking what things mean. And it's like, I don't think that's quite gonna... I don't think the gains that I would get from that would be quite enough. Though I have loosely thought about, like, writing my own editor for certain things, like for the enemy maker. But you can just read the JSON files. They're just plain text here, actually. If I bring up this is how I modified. So over here, yes, I know it has been. Over here is the JSON data for the character classes. So when I was modifying all of the character classes, rather than like manually entering in each new number, I just had a program that generated this array and just copied and pasted it, because it was just easier to just modify that way directly. Plus, this lets me get around the cap. Like right here, you can see I have stats that go up to over 1,000. But the in editor cap is 999 for these stats. The in-engine cap you can just overwrite however you want because it's all just JavaScript. So actually, if we go to the bottom of this file, you can see I'm just like, yeah, just change the cap for stats to be 9,999 instead of 999. Because I know what I'm doing. I know what I want. You're not going to be able to tell me what to do because you wrote your engine in extremely overwritable JavaScript. So yeah, I was just like, much easier to just generate the numbers that I want algorithmically and just copy and paste the resulting array that I wrote my program to generate into here in order to be able to modify it. But like, I'm not at the point of wanting to read in this file and like edit it externally in a separate program. I don't have a need to do that. But yeah, here's the thing that gives skills at various levels. You certainly could. You certainly could if you wanted to take the time to like process out how all of these things are set up. You could do it. You could graft stuff on with this, I'm sure, as well. But I don't. I'm not at a point where I have a reason to go that far. It's a bit extreme to go that far. Eventually, I'll have real poems there, not just text that says poem. Let's go to join the Adventurers Guild. It's important. Activate another one of these. Thankfully, you can join the Adventurers Guild at night. Let's just say there's a bajillion reasons why I'm looking forward to using Unity for the next project that I work on. Yes. Stuff, I know. Cool. Let's drop a save. Okay, I talked about having updated the Bestiary. Let's look at our updated Bestiary. For the Forgotten Spirit. Hooray! We have graphs now. So yeah, I've updated these. They now have type effectiveness graphs instead of the letters that didn't make any sense. The poems are going to be lore stuff, primarily. I think, I don't know, this is still a little bit in flux. I think that they're going to be about, like, the prophet of the region, because the idea is, the basic story is that you're playing a bunch of, like, people who in the past prophesied about the Astral collision events that are going on now, and then, you know, they died at some point in time. Then they got resurrected by the creator to come in and fix things, and you pick which four you bring in with you to do that. You go around fixing stuff is the loose idea. Although there's a bunch of so there's 14 different ones because the idea is 14 different worlds. Like the world got broken up into 14 different parts and then mushed back together in the event called the Astral Collision, which the game is named after. And you're in the process of like you start off by picking which of the 14 you're going to take with you. So they're the prophets. That's why they can be resurrected. Normally people can't. So the poems, I think, are going to be about those different prophets, just like vaguely talking about them or something. I haven't entirely decided, but they're just going to be lore. The points that you activate with them recharge your resurrection signet, and when you interact with one of those, it sets your respawn point if your party wipes. So there are mechanical relevance for activating them and stuff that way. But yes, so I now have these lovely charts. I have not tested enough to determine a weakest team. There's been enough change up and flux to how everything works, honestly, that there's no good way of determining that. Or there's no way that I would have been able to determine that at this point anyway. How much money do I have? I have 397. I don't know what I'm doing with this one yet. Asterisks next to things mean that they're being like modified. I assume that there's going to be a weakest and the strongest team composition. But if I do things well enough, that's going to which one's strongest and which one's weakest should theoretically differ at different parts of the game. I hope to end up in that spot. This item here will increase your maximum MP by 20. This one will reduce it by 50%, but make your attacks restore 2 MP. So, you know, you may or may not want to use this one. Any of these characters could equip these. Like, theoretically, I should get them better equipment, but I haven't modified a lot of the equipment. I'm still in the process of rejiggering all of my armor. So, realistically, what I should do is I should get better swords and stuff, because, like, 70% physical accuracy is terrible. What 70% physical accuracy means is that this character cannot critical hit because I can't get my accuracy above 100. It needs to be above 100 to be able to critical hit. And I'm capped at doing 70% of the way between these for damage. Yeah, I want a lot of... Because I want everything to be trade-offs, because I don't want it to be like, oh, and if you get a breastplate here, somehow it's like 300 times better than the breastplate over here. I just want, like, a breastplate is a breastplate is a breastplate. And it's just like, you know, this one has some stuff that it does, and this has other stuff, and what effects do you want from your armor? I really like the Guild Wars 1 model of, like, reaching, like, maximum equipment power, and it's more what else can your equipment do besides just its normal stats. That starts being important, and that's why, like, and I want the same sort of thing with skills, so that's why I want things kind of like scale with stuff. But yeah, I changed all of these from being a 20% boost to being you had an idea for a game where that would have been core of it, skills, items, etc. Yeah. So I changed all of these to be a much bigger boost, but they also cut something. Which, you know, some of these could be really useful, but like Talmand does not want either of these, because Talmand is, or no, he'd be happy with losing water and boosting fire. Because he's wind? Yeah, he's wind. I should buy one of these for him. A silver ring inlaid with an emerald. Burgess. Yeah, I don't want that. This might... Sapphire. Oh, I need to rename this one. Oh, no, wait. He just literally has sapphire. Whoops. Let's just make a note of, jewelry merchant sells 2 sapphire rings instead of an onyx ring. Okay, playtest note made. Should sell an onyx ring. But yes, I do want, I think a sapphire ring would be good for Lady Isabel, so I'm going to buy one of those for her. So Talmand right now has, yeah. Like, you can see this one would be absolutely terrible for him, because it would give him, like, no benefit. But this is like, congratulations, you dropped your water from 1 to 1. But you boosted your fire up to 39. I don't know if that's too strong or not. A lot of stuff is just, like, in progress. I don't care about dropping her fire by a little bit to give her a bunch of additional water. That'll make her healing more effective. I will need to kind of determine if I've made my stats too much. Hey, Hazardous. Good to see ya. It's been a little bit. How you doing? I am playtesting my RPG where I made a bunch of changes, and, like, it's still in the process of all of the changes, so it's a little mushy. But, you know, excited about the process. Excited about changing stuff around to make it so that way the game's easier to balance. By which I mean at all reasonable to try to balance. Oh, man. Like, I would get some of this stuff, but this equipment's not been properly modified, so it's like, I don't know how representative it is, where things should be. I think... ooh, should I get Tom into Blade? You know what? This is a weird metagaming thing. This dagger has not been properly modified to take into account the change from critical rate to from being how you get criticals to accuracy being how you get critical. So it actually would boost spell accuracy for Talmand, which is absolutely hilarious. Not how it's supposed to work, but you know what? I'll lean into that. Talmand, you get this dagger and more spell accuracy. Because everything's broken. Yeah, they should all raise spell accuracy at some point. I'll need to figure out if the wand strike skills are properly balanced. Let's see, that's 30, that's 30, that's minus 13. So this one would be best for Kalissa. I think I might give this to Kalissa. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Cast a fireball with that dagger. It's perfect. Makes me think of... Ooh, the wand also gives more MP. That's fun. Probably need to modify it. Yeah, so if I go to his status now, because he's wielding that dagger, his spell accuracy is up to 112%. That's fun. How's things been going with that, Hazardous? Been having fun? I need to get her a better sword. We'll do that. Okay. Let's go see if I can craft a better something. Let's go see if I can salvage some junk. I didn't get any wings. Interesting. Okay. Cool. I'm glad that your buddy was able to recover their account. That's always a little disheartening if you're not able to. Okay, I want to make Francis a bow. I mean, this mace is probably overpowered relative to where things are supposed to be stats-wise. Oh, man. Just going through all of this just makes me aware of how much, like, I need to modify equipment. Yeah. ArenaNet customer service definitely, I think, tries to do the best that they can. It's always frustrating when they're not able to kind of do stuff as well as somebody would like, but I think they do a pretty good job overall. Okay, let's go... Let's go see if I have enough for a hunter's bow. Probably not. I probably don't have enough wood. So let's go check. Yeah. Hunter's bow, which is what I like for Francis. I have neither enough wood nor enough feathers. I can probably go buy some, but I don't have a whole lot of cash on hand at the moment. I also modified it so that way monsters don't drop cash, because most of them give you bounties that you can just turn in for stuff anyway. There's actually... I should go here for some loot. I do need to fight some rats. Fireball. Ooh, that fireball is hurting real well. Well, that's not what I want to have happen. Oh, right, she's wielding a thunder rod. That's weird. I should probably heal Talman some. Don't need water. I mean, these pieces of cloth are great, but what I really need is wood. I'll take these hunter skills, though. Has it? Yeah, I kind of gotten the impression that people who have jobs are suddenly finding themselves really busy. And people who don't have jobs are finding themselves very concerned, to put it extremely mildly. Flame Swath with a wand just feels weird, but like... Yeah, that's crazy. Take that, rat. Why do rats keep evading that Hunter Strike? Oh man, they actually feel scary when they're able to do some damage. I'm gonna actually heal Talmand here. Restores a 10th of your MP if it hits. So this would actually restore... That's actually pretty good. Is that going to be better than I want it to be, or worse? Wow, Frost Strike is not a skill I'm likely to want to use with her. High critical hit rate's probably a misnomer, but I will take improved accuracy. I can just end this rat. Let's just do that. Ooh, good. Critical hit. That good old dagger giving me more... Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff. So I've been... That's probably mind-numbing. I've been doing a bunch of, like, over here, my own modifications to the RPG Maker codebase. RPG Maker is a game engine written perplexingly in JavaScript, so... Fun fact, JavaScript is a language that doesn't give a crap about what you do. And I totally had a bug. Like, I did a bunch of... like, a lot of this is just, like, tweaking stuff that they already had, so I'm copying and pasting their functions and modifying them to do what I want, for the most part. But, when I was first adding the functionality for accuracy working the way that it is now, I accidentally didn't update a function that was supposed to take it. So it just was like, well, I guess you're not passing anything to this function call, so it's just going to be null there. It's like, oh, you didn't tell me that I wasn't passing a variable. You just are like, this is an undefined value. Because JavaScript is just like a scripting language that's just like, does not care. It might have been this. It might have been this call. Maybe where I was forgetting... I don't know. There's somewhere where I was forgetting to pass accuracy, and I think it was this call. So just like, yeah, this is undefined. Whatever. This parameter is undefined because it wasn't passed in the argument list. It's just like, really? Anyway. That's some of the JavaScript. There's a bunch of stuff that I've written for this. I agree, Clean Start. So my initial programming experience technically was with a basic interpreter on a CD that I borrowed from a friend. And I decided to give it back, and lo and behold, I was like, I enjoyed programming these things in BASIC. Let's pick up something other programming-wise to be able to continue doing programming, because I enjoyed it. And I just happened to choose C++ as the language I wanted to get into. And those were the days of programming in Notepad with no sense of what code formatting should look like, in using the Borderline command line compiler where every error was a parse error. Every error being a parse error. And I have a poignant memory of trying to debug something that wasn't working, not really being sure why it wasn't working, but trying to debug it. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Flame ooze. Oh, I wonder. This is going to be a really good test of some of the changes to the systems I've made, actually. But yeah, so I remember I was missing a quotation mark, and it was giving me the weirdest errors the borderline command line compiler was, because it's like I had some text. It's like A is undefined, whatever is undefined. I'd learned that parse error often meant okay, take care, Hazardous. Good to see you. Glad to see you drop by. But the command. So I'd learned that parse error often meant I was missing a semicolon, so I was trying to find a semicolon that's missing, and they're all there, and it just took forever, because of course Notepad doesn't have any syntax highlighting. So the language I typically program in these days is C#. That's what I write all like the tools and stuff in, like for the Guild Wars tool that I made. Okay, that just ended that thing. Yeah, see, that still dealt 72 damage to that Flame Ooze, even though it's immune to fire, because it was plus damage off of weapon attack. Wow, that group was, like, no big deal. That's interesting. Changing it so that way plus damage off of skills gets through immunities is real strong. I have no experience with Python. I've looked at Perl. I remember nothing about it. I have a book up on my shelf I can see over there. I also have a big JavaScript book. I have the complete reference to JavaScript, which was actually a little bit helpful when I was trying to figure out how to do stuff initially in RPG Maker. I also have a complete reference to C++ 4th edition. And I have an HTML one that covers HTML5, but I haven't really looked into it much. Man, that is an enormous programming Windows book. And I have a C# book up there. I don't know. But most of my experience is in C, C++, and C#. Well, C/C++, more C++ than just raw C. The sort of raw functional programming that it wants from you is kind of wonky. Oh, it's this group again, eh? This group is not the most common group, so it's interesting to see it. Flame Strike is really good here. Like, if I were just attacking these guys normally, I think they would be a bit challenging, but the fact that Flame Strike just gets right through everything. I think a lot of the... Oh, no. Oh, that's the counterpart to this. She's just about killing herself. Wow. All right. So that's the game we're playing. Let's just hope we can kill this quickly. That's the air ooze. It's gonna like instantly die to that, right? Okay, good. Whew. That was one of those moments where it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be easy because I one-shot everything with Flame Slash or Flame Swath, and then it used Gust and practically wiped my party because that's where damage values are currently at apparently. Yeah. Well, that was vaguely frightening, but hey, everybody leveled up. So, that's nice. Hi, Francis. Good to see you back in the land of the living. Okay. Got onto the road. I have no money. I need to go turn in... How many bounty slips do I have? 12. I need to go turn in these bounty slips. Earth no longer gives you default HP regen. So one of the things is that... durability is kind of like determined by like 3 things. How much damage you take from stuff, so like your damage reduction, your maximum health pool, and your HP regeneration rate. Thank you. Thank you. I needed that money so I can go friggin' buy a room at the inn. So, actually, I don't really need to. I can just... Healing Spring is gonna cover everybody. I lost my train of thought in the middle of trying to figure out healing. What was I talking about? I thought I had a point to make. Oh well. I've lost it. Harrower. Hi, Harrower. I think Flame Swath's going to need to be nerfed, everyone. I think it deals too much damage. I mean, these are still super relevant. Yeah. That is not the playtesting notes. Flame Swath probably needs a nerf. I'm gonna need to look at a lot of these values. But maybe they should be high. I don't know. Oh, I need to go buy feathers. I think I need 3 for the Hunter's Bow. I like the Hunter's Bow, so I want to go get it for Francis. That requires a certain number of feathers, which I believe I can buy over here. Yes. 3 feathers, thank you. Yeah, I needed wood, but I think I should have enough wood. I also want to get a general sense of like how progression feels right now, but it's a little bit hard because I can't go to some of the higher level areas because those enemies are still like calibrated for the old values. So, I mean, I can go to them. There's not like they're not there or anything, but okay, Hunter's Bow. Okay, so now the only one who needs something is the Whammo. In terms of new gear. Do I have this in my notes? Caledon Adventurers Guild House. I didn't get to everything last time because I got kind of caught up on other things. Add magic crafter to Caledon Guild House. I should maybe figure out making Iron Hill Guild House wide enough to add stuff to. The mace does require another piece of wood. Although, I'm not sure if this is an upgrade or not. Because I don't think I've gone through all of these and, like, set all of them up properly yet. Adventurer's Cape is probably useful, though. I made everybody able to use all of the accessory types because there's just not enough accessory types, and it felt proper to do that. Let's drop a save. Let's see how badly I lose if I go down, like, I mean, I'm level 3, but these guys are just going to absolutely wreck me, and I'm kind of curious to see how badly they do. Wow, this is a strong fireball. Buzzkill shouldn't be too bad. The Dire Serpent's going to be the thing that's going to get me. Yeah, because the Buzzkills I can just, like, kill. That thing crits me for, like, 9 times my HP, so... Are these things weak to... Oh, it does not matter. Stone Volley with that guy is utter trash. Get Francis alive again. Yeah, I'm definitely going to need to be a lot more conservative with my plus damage values. That's one of the things I'm seeing here. Is, like, I'm going to just need to, like, reevaluate plus damage and multipliers. Reevaluate all plus damage and multipliers. Because all of these figures are different now in terms of what they mean. Stats are roughly equivalent to like an 1/8 of maximum HP, I guess is how stuff works out. On average. So, like, stuff needs to be built around that fact. You could just attack it. I think I want you to res Kalissa. We don't need to shake it off. We're not going to be able to shake off anything. So just attack that. Okay, Kalissa's alive again for the moment. Now Talman is very dead. You can attack it, Francis. I mean, Flame Swath, I think, was still reasonable damage because it has like a plus 75 on it for reasons. Wow. Okay, maybe Francis shouldn't be the one to try to take that thing on. See, this is what I'm talking about ridiculous spike damage. This enemy shouldn't be, like, one-shotting my characters, but I haven't modified it yet, so it can't. So it is. Repeatedly. Talman was the one who's going to do the damage, though. I think I'm out of res sigs, so yeah. I'll just have her guard, see if she can tank some of this. Hey, counterattack. Yeah, even though this is resisted, the Flame Swath... are the Flame Strikes plus 75 damage just gets through that resistance? I think I'm just going to have her guard again. Guarding can help reduce the damage. Hey, we actually managed to kill one of those. That was not worth. Do I have room in Iron Hill? I can make room in Iron Hill. What am I talking about? Yeah, there's no reason that you need to be able to go up here. Yeah. Because this guild house also doesn't have a crafty person. Expand Iron Hills guild house to the left and add a magical crafter. Hi. Oh, I got a wing at some point. I can make more feathers. I don't need to just yet. I can turn this makeshift staff into wood. That means I can make a mace for Lady Isabella. Oh, I want to have a mace. At a certain point, I'm going to just need to be like, okay, I've gotten what information I can from this. Actually, I should have a terrible sword to salvage. Okay, yeah, that's right. I had a couple of characters that were just dead. Let's undo that. 168. I need to figure out what the multiplier on that is, because it's probably bigger than it needs to be. On the other hand, she does have a very high water stat for her level. So she has what, like 16 in water right now, and it's being boosted to 24. Excuse me. But maybe I should balance around it being more like at 16. What's 16 times 7? Let's see, 6 times 7 is 42. That's 100 and something. Yeah, that's a little bit more than it needs to be. Hey, good to see you, Hunting Swan. So you'll be interested in the in-depth video I go over all of the bajillion changes that I made between the last playtest and this playtest that are still ongoing. That'll come out on the 26th. To kind of give you a brief rundown, I made it so that way everybody has a set 60 max MP with some stuff being able to modify it. And that was to facilitate balance. What stats do is a bit modified, so water and earth no longer give you MP and HP regen respectively. So there's a couple of things I was running into as problems that you may or may not recall from the last playtest. One of the big ones was my characters were just like, I was having a hard time figuring out how to balance stuff because characters were just kind of too durable. They're either getting one shot or they weren't dying. And that pushed me towards doing spike damage, and that was because the water regen stuff was too effective. Like, the MP regen from it was too effective, and so, like, effectively you would never run out of MP. And... Ooh, some plain scorpions. These are vaguely rare. So... all of the numbers are rejiggered. Yeah, Endless MP made it so that way, like, it was functionally Endless MP because you could get MP regen so high that it would overcome the cost of your skills, which meant that your skills were effectively, like, you could just use them too much. Which meant that you could just keep healing and healing and healing and healing and healing, and not die, which was not good balance. And then I totally have changed how stats and everything are set up to be based around a formula with HP. I'll briefly cover that again, so that way you have some reference for what's going on. So right over here, we have kind of a proxy for this. All of these stats are based off of your maximum HP, and your maximum HP is calculated with this formula right here. 100 is the base value, then it's 3 to your level, minus 1 divided by 24. I originally had this at 5 with the idea that every 5 levels, enemies would deal... Because I want damage to be... I know, it's lots of maths. Damage range to be maximum HP divided by 3 to maximum HP divided by 2 minus 1. So that way, that's kind of like the average damage range. So on average, all things without like any modifiers or anything would be, on average, 3-shotting stuff. That's kind of what I wanted to kind of balance things around. That felt like a good number. And I originally wanted it to be so that way it would be every 5 levels, it would go from a 3, like, it'd scale up from a 3-shot to a 1-shot. But that turned out to be an exponential that meant that starting at 100 HP at level 99, you'd have over 200 billion HP, which was way too much HP. So I've just been in the process of like rebalancing everything around like this new baseline of how I'm doing everything, but it's giving me like a framework to balance around. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to have 100 HP at level 1 and then 224 some odd billion HP at level 99? That's fun, right? So I'm still using sort of that basic formula, but instead of every 5 levels, it's every 24 levels. Yeah, but this isn't Disgaea. And I doubt the RPG Maker interface would like that. Could you imagine? So anyway, as your level goes up, like everything kind of grows. Like level 50 is going to be way up here. And like, so here's the values for level 60. 942 max HP with stat average of 118. At level 60, that jumps to 1,489 maximum HP with stat averages of 186. 70, jumps to 2,354 maximum HP with 294 stat average. 80 is now 3,720 max HP, 465. And level 99 is 8,877 maximum HP with stat average of 1,110. 1,110. And I need to recalibrate like all of these damage formulas. For example, you can see the sword is exploded over here. It's way more than the average of 3,698 that it should approximately be reaching. Yeah. And there's a lot of this other stuff too. I made it so that way plus damage off of attacks ignores the weakness resistance stuff. And the damage formula no longer has a critical stat. It's now magic accuracy. And instead, everything's just based off of one accuracy roll. So if you roll an accuracy roll of greater than 100, it'll be a critical hit. If it exceeds the critical evasion stat that the enemy has. And if it's less than 0, it'll be evaded. And the roll that you get in there for accuracy determines where in the weapon's range it is. So if it's 0, it's going to be the low value. And if it's 100, it's going to be the high value. I will show you the bestiary after this fight. That is a good question. I did do stuff about... this is going to work a lot better if I give this focus. I need to modify this, by the way. Flame Swath is way too strong. But that is a good question, and I will answer that question after I kill some plain scorpions. Hey! Yeah, name length causes problems with that. So, and you can actually see more details in there's an Astral Collision channel on the Discord. I think you're on the Discord. If you're not on the Discord and you want to see stuff, it's on the, there's a link in the cards below or whatever. But I showed some of the process, and I'll go over it in more detail in that video that comes out on the 26th. But let's just look at our plain scorpion. This is what it looks like now. And I experimented around with a bunch of different stuff. You can see some of the experimental options in there. I did make a version that has slightly improved letters, but the bar graph is what I ultimately liked the best. So green values are it does better, and red values are it does worse. And it kind of scales a little bit in terms of the color. There's a couple of different options I tried with that, some of which went way more extreme than others. If I grab the air ooze, for example, you can see this is pretty extreme. And I don't know how well it shows up on stream or not, but there's kind of a faint line that goes down here at the 1x multiplier level. But I felt that the bar graph did a really good job of giving you the information that matters without you having to process what numbers mean. That kind of shows the relationship between stuff in a way, because these are based on the actual numbers. So you can see ice is super, super good against these guys. And metal is also good, but not quite as good. And I liked... okay, that's good. I'm glad that's visible. But yeah, I experimented around with a bunch of different stuff, some of which worked slightly better than others, and some of which was absolutely terrible. And this is the solution that ended up experimenting around on that I like the best. So I'm really happy with this one. I also changed some of my conditions around a little bit as well. Silence here reminded me. Silence now only seals magic. I made Paralyzed seal physical skills, special skills. And now Confusion is gone. It's replaced with a condition called Dazed, which takes it makes it harder to guard, and increases MP cost of skills. So I did some tweaking with some of the stuff there, which is something that I forgot to mention in the update video because I was going over so many things. That update video that's coming out on the 26th is an hour and 10 minutes, roughly an hour and 10 minutes long of just here's a bunch of things that changed and what was going on and what I was trying and what I'm trying to accomplish with it. and stuff. So there's going to be a lot there in terms of like the intimate details. So if you like looking at JavaScript, yep. So if you like looking at a lot of JavaScript, I'll be going into a lot of JavaScript. Just to kind of go over a little bit some of the stuff, just to give you kind of an idea of what I'm doing with the accuracy changes, just because they are kind of important. So I grab hit rate and evasion rate. Those now look at variance, and magical accuracy is now the critical rate is now magical accuracy. And then fire and dexterity kind of boost those as well. So variance boosts accuracy. Evasion is modified by dexterity or water, depending upon which one it is. And so if you have... So what I have right here is I get those two rates, and then I have this accuracy stat that I modify. So if hit rate... so it's hit rate plus evasion rate times math.random minus evasion rate. So this is basically scaling from the negative enemy evasion rate to your hit rate is kind of like the scale, and it picks some random value in that range. If it's less than 0, it's going to be a miss if your hit rate is also less than 0. Otherwise, it's just evaded. Most things are going to be evaded, not misses. And then if right here is where we determine a critical hit. If the skill can be a critical, then the result is a critical if accuracy -1 is greater than the target's critical evasion. So critical evasion raises the threshold you need to cross in order to be able to land critical hits. So that's how that works. And then I no longer do stuff with hit multiplier. There's a lot of stuff. I go over what I did previously here. I did that at the beginning of the stream, so if you want to have that early, you can go look at the VOD. I also go over it in detail in the video coming out in 2 Saturdays, I guess. Oh, is that a week from tomorrow? Whatever, on the 26th. But now the weapon damage formula takes in the accuracy value and uses that to choose. Instead of rolling random range in there, it uses the accuracy value. So everything in combat is kind of driven off of that one roll. Like your critical hit, your evasion, your damage range on your weapon is all done off of that one roll, instead of having like a bajillion different rolls going in there. The one that I really wanted to get rid of is I really wanted to get rid of the hit multiplier on a randomized damage range, because the randomized damage range, like, they're both trying to do the same thing, and I don't need them both. And I liked the system that I had previously for determining like accuracy and stuff. I really like that system, but I would want to have static damage numbers for that on weapons. And with the number, yeah, I'm playtesting these changes currently. But it's kind of like in flux. It's kind of like in the middle of transitioning to some extent. But I want to have the weapons have a minimum and a maximum, because that offers me more flexibility in terms of how the weapons work. And with the sheer number of weapon types that I have in the game, I wanted to... And again, I have that many weapons because I'm basing it off of like the icons that come with the thing, because I kind of wanted to maximize their default icon usage. So because of the sheer quantity of weapon types, I want to be able to like get differences out in that damage range. So rather than moving everything over to a system where it's like, here's a static number that this weapon deals, I wanted it to be I wanted to have that range that way. So I wanted to move to a system that wasn't like doing 2 different ranges. But I think the other system would work really well that I was working with if you're not doing like a range on weapons, because it introduces variance to the weapon damage with the way that it was set up. Hopefully that all makes sense. No, that's not the one. I want to Notepad++. So that's kind of what's going on. So I've recalibrated like my tool for like setting up enemy stats, but I got that late enough yesterday that I was only able to get to like some of the earlier enemies. So the later enemies are still like not proper. I'm still modifying like all of the player equipment still, and kind of like, because I'm kind of reconceptualizing how some of the player equipment works, because I had my initial conception was that equipment would generally raise your maximum HP. There wasn't going to be an armor value. And there's still not an armor stat, but I'm using element rates as armor because it's effectively what armor's supposed to do anyway. So I started doing both that and increasing maximum HP, which just like is 2 layers of tankiness, because it's like a greater HP pool to draw from and also reducing damage, rather than doing one of the two. And so now I'm focusing on armor, reducing damage that you take, not increasing your HP pool, but I'm like still like reconceptualizing equipment and stuff. I also am capping, or I'm setting base MP levels at 60 because 60 is a highly divisible number. And so I still needed to modify equipment to not give you a bunch of extra MP and things like that because I'm like trying to constrain that. And I also need to set up equipment to properly give you the MP regeneration rate that you're supposed to get off of it, because I'm really being more specific about MP regen. So that way you don't get into those situations where your characters effectively have unlimited spellcasts. So lots of stuff going on. Ooh, some buzzkills. Flame Swath is real good. They're slightly weak to wind. But right now, I think a lot of skills are doing too much damage. That's one of the things that's really come out of this. This is not just... It's not just weapons. I know player weapons are generally on average going to be doing more damage than they're supposed to. And I kind of knew that was going to be the case. But it's clear to me that a lot of skills need to be calibrated as well down. Because a lot of them are stronger than they should be as well. I have 11 bounty slips. I need... What? How many do I need? I have 2 of 50 points towards the next rank. So that would mean I'd need 48 total. So the other thing, too, is monsters no longer drop gold. They have bounty slips that you get gold for turning in. And they drop crafting materials that you can, like, sell to get gold. And I'm kind of... Like, there'll be enemies that do drop gold, but I want it to be more logical for them to drop gold. And I want gold to be something, like... I want to make sure that when I introduce questing, it's got value to it as well. So I'm working on like modified experience values and stuff. This group is a lot less threatening than it used to be. In part, that's because Flame Swath is super OP right now. Ooh, she has Enraged Smash. I mean, that's probably true. Get gusted. Ooh, silenced. It can't cast spells. Okay. Oh no. Hey, Talisman reflected the magic. Good. You need that to absorb these rat attacks. Oh. Okay. Okay, how do I want to approach this? Yes, they instead have death certificates. It's an abstracted system because there's a bounty on... Not all monsters and areas will have bounties, but there's... in Kendra, there's an Adventurers Guild that places bounties on monsters. So bounties is abstracting away proof that you killed these monsters. That way you can go and like turn in your reward for killing the monsters. And they've had death certificates for a while, but yeah, they basically have death certificates. Oh, Flame Swath counts as a spell, not a skill. Oh, yeah, it is. So she can't use it because she's gotten silenced. Fascinating. Can she kill this air ooze before she gets killed? Let's gust again. Oh, man. If you don't like one round stuff, these things are absolutely terrifying. Okay, we got the rats. That's going to be good. I just got her back up. Does Frost Strike have a... Does Frost Strike use an electric animation? Playtesting notes. They inform me of things that I need to check on, back in on later. Okay, Francis, get Lady Isabella up. Let's just Thunderstrike this Flame Ooze. I think... Okay, that's not... I didn't need to do that there necessarily. Okay, good. It resists it, but... No, I haven't changed that text. It's still useful to me as a reminder. I need to figure out a system of making stuff pop up next to the numbers, and I've been focused on modifying the Bestiary page and then the entire underlying framework of the combat system. So I haven't gotten around to looking at that element yet. I'll need to think about what's actually meaningful with that. I have it in my playtest notes still of like a thing that I need to address that I haven't gotten to yet from last week. But yeah, it's in my to-do list, but looking at that stuff is not a high priority compared to like getting the balance in place. Hey, Burning Intensity learned. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I think what probably the state that it needs to be in is have some pop-ups next to with the damage to indicate like that damage was not very good or that damage was good. And I kind of want something that can be like a way of communicating that at a couple of different levels, because I like having a couple of different levels of communication there, but I might change the text to like that shows up top to be a little more simple, to not try to indicate range as much. Maybe just like if it's below 80%, it just tells you it was resisted, and if it's above 120%, it tells you it was good. Something like that. I don't know. I need to look at it. Oh, also, Hunting Swan, I added some code that restores MP and HP at the end of battle, which actually turns out to revive characters at the end of battle if they're dead, which I think I kind of like. But just letting you know that that's a thing that's going on, that I hadn't thought about it doing that when I added it, but totally does. Yeah, plus like figuring out how they're doing the number coloration that may or may not be annoying to set up. The numbers in general just have issues. I just want to pop up a little icon next to it. Color coding it would be nice, but it does have the... Like, I don't want to just rely on color information as well. Yeah, it would be vague. You wouldn't necessarily know what it meant. You'd need contextualization. You have context in the Bestiary page. The other thing, though, is like I am conscious of red-green color blindness being a thing. And while I think that's okay on the graph because like there's different shades and the, I don't know, bars are pretty clearly different lengths. I think that that's not a problem, but I don't want to rely on it for like just the color information. I will probably have some... I want to try to avoid issues that could cause problems for color blindness if I can. And if I accidentally have something, and anybody just notices it, I definitely would appreciate it being called out. Because it's the sort of thing where, like, this sort of game should be able to account for that. Okay, these rats aren't too bad unless they get me. Flame Swath, still overpowered. Oh yeah, I have this now. Wow. 204 damage off of Fireball. Fireball's way too strong. Fireball's way too strong. I need to nerf that a little bit, I think. I think most of these spells need to be nerfed some. Burning Intensity is looking spicy. But I think this is a better choice right now. I'm not sure if I like MP being regenerated at the end of battle to that degree. It makes it feel a little bit invalidated. I'll need to think about that. I'll add that to my notes too. Think about how much MP should be restored at the end of battle. Is 50% too much? I like some. There we go. Wonderful playtest notes. I don't feel like leveling feels appreciably slower than it was. A lot of things are giving less experience points than they used to. Because I'm recalibrating those numbers. And it is slower, but it doesn't feel like painfully slow or anything. Where's the Harrowers at? Water Ooze. Flame Swath is still way too strong. All of the classes have the same HP growth. Because I'm balancing everything around HP, it's the central balancing number. So you're going to be more resistant based upon what armor your class can wield rather than how much HP you have. So the only reason why Francis has different HP, appears to have different HP growth, is because his piece of equipment is one that I haven't recalibrated yet. So it's giving him bonus HP, or giving them bonus HP. Excuse me. That makes it look like more HP than it is, but it's still the 115. But yeah, so the if I go back to Noteland, everything's kind of following the same HP curve, and everything like stats at a given level, and like if I had things set up for the stat program, like for enemies, and I'll go over this in the that video on the 26th, but just a quick highlight. I'm calibrating stats as like a percentage of your maximum HP at any given level, so that way stats follow the same exponential curve that everything else does, or that HP does. Excuse me. So that way damage can follow those and like keep everything kind of in line with where it's supposed to be. And so it's the difference in level that makes things feel different. In terms of like strength, rather than like if things are at equivalent level, it should be kind of like how Pokemon are when it's level 50 all. As more the differences within kinds, level stops mattering. But everything's kind of like HP is the line against which everything is balanced now with how I'm setting stuff up. So that would hopefully that answers that question in a more comprehensive and thorough manner than was necessary. Okay, Talmand. Gust everything, I guess. Smack that Earth News. Hey! Water is weak to wind. Cool. Okay, so we're fast enough to kind of take all these guys down. That's nice. I wonder if I could get my party wiped by wandering in over this area right here. Like, theoretically, I shouldn't realistically be able to beat this mob. And if I can, it's mostly a product of my stats being too good. On my skills having too strong of stats. I mean, mushroom? What's the most dangerous thing here? Is it the mushroom snake? Actually, I should hold off on Enrage Smash. I want my MP for healing. Ow. 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 That's about what I expected. Those enemies have not been properly recalibrated. Even if they were, they might still, like, hurt a lot. If that makes sense. Yeah, those enemies. Like I said, that area I kind of like that area has enemies that are supposed to be showing up in the later area, so they're substantially higher level than, or calibrated for a substantially higher level than what I'm at. So, let's get Talman some new skills. Can you teach us about healing? Yes. I don't think we need healing, but sure, why not? Nobody actually wants to use those healing skills. Lady Isabella does not have enough stuff to use those well. Yeah, I think I want to leave Francis with the skills that they've got, though. Oh, it's day. I can go get the royal skills. Everybody wants these. The Royal Guard skills. They've allowed me to, like, super tank at times. Oh, have I added? Yeah. Okay, I need to go get the, I mean, the ice is really good. Oh, hi, Altus. I forgot you were here. No, this is Portus. Not. I need here. Lionel home. So I can get Lionel's training of the skills that Lionel couldn't use, but they said he could. So the real question is, am I better off keeping this because ice is a really good damage, or doing this because it gets her several different types? Maybe an Earth Strike would actually be useful. Most of these towns actually have, like, placeholder stuff now. At least. Or, like, a place that you can go visit. Placeholder is maybe not quite the right description. Yeah, I really need to get some of those later enemies calibrated. Water ooze. Yeah, because now I have all of these. And, like, Water Strike might be utter trashed here. But Fire Strike's pretty good. Wind Strike is... okay, not amazing. But Earth Strike's pretty good, too. And having access to that will definitely help. I got some enemies, I'm sure. Burning intensity. His sickening soil is so bad because he has, like, no earth. It's hilarious. Firestorm. Fire. Oh my goodness, this is ludicrous. These numbers are ludicrous. 296 wind damage? Yeah, I need to recalibrate, like, all of these things. This test was really good for helping me see that. Mass absorption, eh? Can it withstand Firestorm? Excuse me. Not too well. I know, right? Talman here with 112% spell accuracy. Has a chance of critting. Yeah, that's just what you want, right? I should use it against something. Watch it just utterly end it. Okay. Who wants to watch this rat evaporate? Yeah, just 296 damage. That's like 3 times its HP or something almost. Okay, you have cleanse. Let's get that cured off of you. I don't know, like restoring MP after battle is good for. Maybe I went to like scale. Multipliers. Let's see, where is the... Maybe it should scale, like low MP recovers more. That's not how you spell more. It's not how I try to spell more anyway. It's nighttime! That meant we got the bat spawn. There's a couple of mobs that if it's nighttime, these bats will spawn in them. But they don't spawn in the groups during the day. I don't know. Are there enough it's just like this weird little quirky mechanic that I realized I could do. That just doesn't come up very often at all. Should it come up more often? Do you think more groups should have night bats? Probably. Did you enjoy that gasp? I was feeling very enthusiastic about it. These buzzkills need to get trashed. Ooh, 355 damage against that buzzkill. Oh, it evaded the spell. Those things actually have pretty good spell evasion. His own floating grave. Ooh, a crystal shard. Should let Kirby know. Okay, HPs are all fine. I mean, at this point, it's just a matter of getting bounties. You know what? I'm going to just add that as a note. I think more groups should have night bats. More Kenjin groups should have night bats. Because it's interesting. Also, hello, Harrowers. Like, this is a really good example of where... burning intensity this Harrower, please. Plus damage from weapons really can kick in. Of course, I also can just straight up deal 500 damage to a Harrower and one-shot it because they have much less HP now. So that's how this works. How to strike this flame ooze? Prove to it how awesome you are. Did you really have to waste a bunch of those on the flame ooze? Ow. And evaded it. Yeah, see, and Rage Smash did damage to it because of that new system I have, where attack skills add their damage onto the weapon damage after the weapon damage has had the elemental types processed. Which means that things like oozes that, like, I'm immune to this, is like, you can get around it with weapons better. Which I really, really, really like as a system. I'm going to Earth Strike this thing. It's not going to like that. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm curious to see how much of a smack that Water Pulse will do. I don't know. This Enraged Smash is now plus 60 damage. That's pretty good. Hey! 9 damage from that Water Pulse. Hey! Talman reflected the spell. Earth Strike. Oh, I bet all of those... Oh, all those strikes just use the weapon. Don't they? Do they all use the weapons animation? That might explain it. Playtesting notes are expanding with observations about how things work. Okay, Francis, I see that you've recovered from being dead. I actually really like that flavorfully, too. Like, they're really, really hard to kill. And they eventually get back up. Because that's kind of like their gimmick. Yeah, we're just gonna flame swath everything, and it's just gonna go away. I mean, playtesting is often the process of like just discovering all the things, so you know, that's just how it goes. Let's make sure this air ooze goes down. Cool. That was resisted. Still one-shot it. Oh no! Oh no, that also has it. Welp. You hate finding a bajillion things every time you play test? Yeah. Yeah, I get you, Hunting Swan. Just like, but, this is supposed to be finished. Why did I have to find all of these things that are broken? I think metal is really good against those. I should do that, and then I should also resurrect Talmand, I guess? Cool. Cool. Kalissa, may I volunteer you for being alive? Good job, Talmand. This is the part where I need to get my armor rejiggered, so it actually helps. I think we're going to be dying to this group. That's cool. I don't mind that. I don't mind enemies kind of being threatening. On the other hand, spells need to be nerfed. Like my spells, their spells, they're the same thing, so spells just need to be nerfed. That's what I've determined. How many death certificates have I acquired? 35 out of 48. I want to get a giant pile of gold. Turn in all of them at once. I'll say this. Battles feel like they've gotten a lot quicker. And they either just end with the enemy dying or just me being very sad and dead. I definitely like faster pace. Hey, there's that crit for 592 damage. I definitely like, that's one of my goals, is I want to make it so that way the player doesn't get stuck in long grind fests. Yeah, like that. See, here's the thing, is that if the enemies were weak enough, you just kind of like walk through them, but then there's a bunch of battles that were supposed to be too hard for you. They were supposed to be. But then you'd get into these long grind fests where you could eventually overcome them by being way too, like, the damage calibration numbers being, like, I didn't have... That goes back to the thing I was talking about. Players were able to gain defensive stats faster than damage stats. Hello, Holder. Welcome. So, like, and that's part of why I, like, recalibrated all of these systems, is because, like, when your defensive capacity outpaces offensive capacity, then you're able to, like, tank your way through and, like, out attrition enemies that are supposed to be beating you. And that's not a system that I liked. I didn't like it working that way. So, like, And that's something that became really, really apparent in the last playtest, particularly when I was testing out certain enemies. And just like, this enemy is supposed to be dead by now. Or this enemy is supposed to have killed me by now, and it hasn't. I need to fix this. I mean, Flame Swath is still real good. Could use a completely ineffective Water Pulse. Let's just electrocute this Flame Ooze. Actually, let's electrocute the Buzzkill. And then smash the Flame Ooze. Hey, I got MP back. Hey, the Flame Ooze was fast enough to just wreck me. Did I mention that spells need to be nerfed? I think I've mentioned that. Okay. That's pretty strong. I might need to think about those values. Okay, Giant Rat's almost dead. I should use Slicing Winds, because Slicing Winds is rated for all the damage. And this Flame Ooze. And you should get Kalissa alive again in case the other two things didn't work. Wow, that went off before the resurrection. That's interesting. I recalibrated some of the pacing mechanics for in terms of speed. I recalibrated how speed was calculated, so I might need to look into some of those numbers with more detail. I don't know. How much more am I needing or wanting to do today? I feel like I've gotten a lot of stuff figured out. I guess I can finish getting my bounty slips just to kind of get a feel for that without like any support and not being able to go to enemies that drop higher quantities of them or anything. I mean, this Flame Swath is just going to end literally everything. Hey, fire up. Hey, level 5. I didn't feel too bad. Honestly, I was worried because I changed the amount of experience that a lot of things have, right? So they don't have as much experience that they give. And I was worried that it would feel slow, but it doesn't feel like it's been that slow. Yep, your favorite skill. Apply poultry. And these oozes feel like they're kind of more reasonable than they used to be. I don't need to actually apply any poultry right now. Water ooze, earthen ooze. Earthen oozes are weak to wind, I think. Let's check. Because apparently that move has infinite speed. 304 damage. Oh, nope. It's normal. $105 damage off of resisted. Like, that's just... What even is the, View the Bestiary, please. I'm thinking of making the Bestiary a separate item, because it's just kind of tedious to go through all those menus right now. By which I mean, I'm probably going to make it a different item. Water Ooze. Does resist fire by, looks like, about 50%. Roughly. Lightning. They're really weak to lightning, and they're weak to wind. Mildly weak to light, but not really enough to comment on. See, that's what happens when you get into a battle with the Bestiary page up. Isn't that fun? Is that a wind? Yeah, that's an air ooze. Those are dangerous. I need to do something about that. The most dangerous thing that it could do... Let's burning intensity, this air ooze. There we go. That just one-shot it. It was resisted, but one-shot it. Hey! Fireball, good to see ya. I definitely need to play around with some of the levels of things more. Hey, and then we come back and guess what? You can still be looking at the water use. Oh yeah, her MP has gotten kind of low. Oh, she was dead, so she got half of it back. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, am I up to... Okay, I have enough bounty slips now, so let's go turn those in. I feel like it's quicker to walk all the way down and around that way than it would have been to walk into town the shorter way and then walk through town because it's so big. It's like on the one hand, it's kind of silly. On the other hand, it's like, it's just how it works. I want to turn in all of them. I've increased my rank to Adventurer rank 2. Now you'll give me the money for all of them, and it'll be higher. 260 gold. I sure do. I have a lot of goo. I maybe should sell some of these, and that should allow me to be able to get a boat. I'm going to go get a boat, everyone. Maybe. Hide's not worth very much. Goo's not worth very much either. Cloth is worth a bit. It feels irresponsible to sell a bunch of cloth, though. Crafting materials are maybe not worth a lot. But I got these mushrooms. These healing potions I'm not using. I don't know. I could sell this for like 33 gold. That doesn't seem... It seems dubious. Oh, I could sell these iron ingots for some gold. I don't know. That feels dubious too. Well, let's just go pick up the gold out here that I always forget exists. No, hide is worth less. Hey, found 76 gold over there. So hide is worth 1 gold if I sell it, or 1 money. Iron ingots are worth 5. I think right now, without any like quests, the most efficient way of getting money is either just killing enemies for bounty slips, or that would explain it. Or like grabbing stuff from treasure chests. I could probably go to the mine and pick up some excess pickaxes and stuff, actually. That would probably be the easiest way if I wanted to just get the rest of the way there. Could also go to the mine and just get racked. That's another thing that I could do here. There's a ton of pickaxes here that they're just like, these are junk pickaxes. Do what you want with them. You can salvage them for a bunch of iron. You can also wield them. I mean, if you want to. I don't think stones are worth very much either. No! Why? 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 Random wandering NPCs, am I right? They love getting in your way. Ooh, cave bats. These guys should be pretty weak at this point. What if I just mash attack on everything? Apparently they're gonna evade like crazy. So maybe I should cast an enervating bolt on them. Yeah, that's... Enervating bolt's the solution. Pickaxe. Those guys don't drop bounties because everybody considers them too pathetic to be worth bounties. I mean, can you blame them? This is a dubious investment of MP. That was a real dubious investment of MP. It's a much better investment. Ooh, slightly higher damage roll on that one. Slightly lower on that one, though. Okay, now that I am rolling in pickaxes, I should be able to afford the boat. Let's go see how badly I get wrecked over here. There's nothing over here yet. I haven't put anything in it. Oh, this isn't too bad. I mean, there's a dire serpent. That's terrible, but I'm sure slicing winds can deal with it. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Literally rolling in pickaxes would hurt quite a bit. Ooh. You can get Kalissa back up. And... Okay, take care, Clean Star. Thanks for dropping by. Healing defense Kalissa, so she can friggin' flame swath here and take care of business. Earn 4 damage. Whew. Wow. Healing defense Kalissa? Get Lady Isabella up so I can cleanse that off? Okay, this should end the Dire Serpent threat. Yeah, that curse is no joke. I don't think cleanse is gonna get off here, but... Whew. I got 2 bounty slips for that because of the snake was worth some. Cleanse is healing pretty well these days, apparently. Come on, where's a real mob? Yeah, like this. This is a real mob. I find it interesting that we're able to kind of survive the serpent because our spells are still dealing way more damage than they should, so we're actually able to kill it in a reasonable time frame. I don't think we're going to take out this group. If anybody knows anything about blood bats, we are super not in a good position here. Oh, yep. This one's gonna kill us all. That's fine. I just want to go get a boat. Resurrection Sickness has been recharged. Good. It just automatically recharges when you respawn. Okay, I want to sell some pickaxes so I'm no longer rolling in them, so that way I'm not in constant horrendous physical agony. Look how much these are worth. I have 10. There. Now I'm no longer rolling in pickaxes. I'm just, like, trying to figure out how to carry them all in this bag. So let's go and buy a boat. Yeah, that seems reasonable. I would. Boat. We are Boated. I mean, that still took about 2 hours, even with all the changes that I've made. So that's encouraging, actually. We are level 5, which is maybe a bit lower than I want. I don't know. I need to make more stuff to do in Kendra in general. Maybe I'll tweak the threshold for that if there's enough stuff that I've added to Kendra to make it interesting to spend more time there. Right now, there isn't, but I do actually also want to have this room not show up until later. I want to kind of restrict access to the subway system a little bit. Because I don't want you being able to circumvent world pacing too quickly. Because being able to come here and immediately just go like, yeah, I'm buying a subway ticket to the other side of the world, that kind of interrupts pacing, and I don't want that just yet. So I'm thinking that I'm going to like modify stuff so that way you get like, there initially they don't exist, and then like after you take care of stuff on Ron Piety enough, maybe that's when they first start opening up, or Divertier. Probably Divertier is like, oh, now we starting opening up subway access and a little bit, and then like once you get the ship and have like journeyed around some, maybe you get like more access. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out a little bit. Context? Oh yeah, there would be strong enemies if you go to areas you're not supposed to go to yet. Yeah, but you would be able to like get equipment and stuff. I don't know. I have mixed feelings, but okay. Let's see how instantly this thing can end me. Oh, it's a little bit faster than it. Yep, this is gonna just one-shot everybody. Whoa. I was wrong. Good job, Francis and Talman, for dodging that or reflecting it. That's a spell accuracy system coming into effect, though. That's really cool. That's really cool. I'm happy to see that, actually. Oh, I wonder how good the spell accuracy is. Like, spell accuracy being low isn't going to mean you're going to miss unless there's spell evasion, and just kind of the way things are currently structured just kind of creates a buffer there. So that way, higher spell, like higher spell evasion, or like higher spell accuracy increases the distance, increases the range in which you can land a hit. But I mean, I can pretend, right? Res sig some people. I mean, deflecting it didn't do much, but... Oh. Well, we're just not going to have any MP, I guess. There are worse things that could have happened there. Probably. Ha! Although having this character just be the one that just had their MP just utterly drained is hilarious. I was planning on using that. Well... I guess, Francis, you're my damage source. All of my other damage sources have been getting their MP stolen brutally by this thing. Well, I wasn't planning on using a spell with her anyway. You can see the MP regeneration starting to come into effect. Wow. How much evasion did I give this guy? Keep in mind, all of the evasion numbers that I have for enemies are based on the old way evasion worked, so a lot of them are going to need to be calibrated. Like, theoretically, we shouldn't win this fight, but this enemy, for some reason, has gotten it in his head that the thing that it's supposed to do against us is, like, auto, or, like, steal our MP. So, yeah, see, this is what's supposed to happen. Granted, that's not necessarily what's supposed to happen. These enemies are supposed to be calibrated differently, but they're supposed to still kind of wreck us. Like, we're at level 5, and they're supposed to be rated for, like, 20-something. So they're still going to, like, generally one-shot us, is the idea of sort of stat ranges. I don't know. I feel like I've kind of gone over most of what I have to go over right now and kind of have figured out what I need to figure out, which is tons of things need tweaking. But there's more things that need tweaking than I realized, which was good. This has been a successful playtest. I have learned stuff. That's what makes it a successful playtest. Also, I had fun. That's good too. Yeah, I got a lot of work ahead of me. But I knew that. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here, everyone. Thank you all for dropping by and watching. Yeah, I guess that's just kind of it. Like I said, there's going to be a big explanation video coming on the 26th that has a bunch of like nitty-gritty details, and you can always ask additional questions on the Discord if you want. But okay, drop a follow. I'll be back tomorrow for Guild Wars 1 stream, just my standard Guild Wars 1 stream. I guess I should mention that. But yeah, bye everyone.